Hello, everyone. Welcome to the UFC 273 version of Jab Cross Hook. Myself, Iain MacMillan, Wallach, Amy Kaplan. Packed show today. We got two different guests. We got
Kay Hansen.
I was going to say Matt Fervola first. I forgot his first name. Matt Fervola. Kay Hansen's going to come on first, though. This is going to be the first time that we actually have a fighter fighting this weekend on the show. Very excited for that. Obviously, we got to go over a few things first. So right before we bring on Kay Hansen, the same thing that we bring up every single show. It's how we start our shows. What are we drinking tonight? And then we're going to start talking about some fights because it is a stacked card this weekend. Yes. I can't wait. Reed, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I had a few people over. I was going to bring on what I had on last week because I didn't have time to go get anything, but I found a Peroni in my fridge. So that is the UFC 273 beer. I've had this before, another just rock solid beer, but that's what we're going with for this week's show. Probably like a classic 6.5 beer right here.
Special guest appearance by my cat right away, right at the start.
Love it.
Amy, what are you drinking?
Well, I have to lock my cats outside because one of them burnt their tail off almost, and then the other one crawled across my back. So you will not see any cats on my screen. I'm drinking the same thing from last week because I got to finish the bottle. White sangria. I'm obsessed with this. I can only get it in one shop, so I don't want to let it go to waste.
Make it count.
And I'm drinking my classic go-to, but this time it's not just plain water. I did go and get my my soda water here, so a little Tito's vodka, a little soda.
Yeah, much better than just the vodka straight. It's still
much better than just vodka mixed with plain water. Also, I'm wearing my sport coat today. I need a win in the draft. This is the first time we're doing the draft now in a little while. I'm the only one without a win. It is just the three of us for the draft this time. We're going to bring on Kay Hansen, and then we're going to do the draft. And then Matt Frevola is going to come on here at the end. So I decided to dress up a little bit. Hopefully, it's going to bring me a little bit of good luck. But speaking about what's that?
Look good, draft good.
Look good, feel good, draft good. That is the strategy. Let's bring up, I think we have our results from the last draft. It's been so long now. I don't even totally remember how we all did. I know I lost. That's right. Jalen Turner came on, went 3-0. And the UFC fighters now, when they do the draft with us, they are now undefeated. I went 1-2. Reed, you went 2-1. So you came first out of us three. So you will choose the order of the draft when we eventually get to it. Amy, you went 0-3. So, but you did get aggressive, to be fair. You went 3 underdogs. Sometimes that can happen if you go 3 underdogs. My only win was a pretty chalky favorite. But I guess I can brag about not coming last, which is nice for a change. So that was, how long ago was that now? Almost a month ago. We're going to be a little bit more consistent with these drafts moving forward, which I'm excited for, starting with this weekend's card, which, like I said, is absolutely stacked. We are going to get into it a little bit. 2 title fights on the line, all that good stuff. But Amy, right before we went live, you brought up that there's a rumor that the UFC is going to do a tournament. We didn't get a chance to talk about it much. So I haven't seen this. So fill me and read in.
Okay, so there's a journalist, and I'm going to butcher his last name, and I'm so sorry. I respect you so much, so I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name. John Hoyko. I don't know. Okay.
Sounds right.
He's JHKMMA, if you want to look him up. He tweeted yesterday that multiple sources have informed him that the UFC will have an 8-man tournament across 4 divisions. The divisions are 125, 135, 145, and 155, starting in Singapore during UFC 275 week. And it says that their contract's already going out and it's going to be heavy on Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and Thai fighters, which to me sounds
interesting.
So good. Oh my, I saw it and I was like, I literally screamed. It was so exciting. Because
so these are tournaments. So this is not a tournament like kind of Bellator does where the winner gets a shot at the title, or is that what they're doing, or is there any information about that?
There's no information beyond that, but I think the fact that they're doing anything outside of just normal fights is exciting, and they're listening to fans, and I could care less what the end result is. It's just going to be high quality fighting and tournament style with the UFCs. I mean, it's just, I never thought it would happen. So it's just really exciting.
Tournaments kind of in any sport always seem to really get the fans into it. Anytime there's a bracket and you can look at it, and I think it's cool. So it's going to go across all divisions, or there will be different brackets for each weight class that eventually would meet at the end, or it's still, we don't know the real details.
I don't know, but I would assume there'd be 4 different tournament. I don't know.
Maybe they all meet. Maybe they all meet like at the end, like the champions of each weight class meet in another tournament. I mean, obviously we're going off of one tweet, but it seems like this is maybe a developmental tournament this time around to maybe see if it works for a real one, maybe down the road with actual, higher name champion level fighters in the UFC. But listen, I'm always up for these types of, tournament style things, especially in something like the UFC.
Yeah, and I think too, like, it sounds a little bit like kind of like what PFL is doing, where they have these divisions and they fight twice and then eventually get to the end. But it's unique in the sense I don't think there's going to be titles at the end of these tournaments. Maybe there'll be a tournament champion. I think maybe it's a mix between like Tough and like PFL's tournament. So who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exciting. I'm really excited to see if we hear some more details about that. But I mean, that's soon. UFC 275. That's in June.
Yeah,
Second week in June. So that's soon. So we're going to start hearing a lot more news soon too. And I'm curious to see where they're taking these fighters from. If they're stealing any of them from one championship.
Ooh, one championship has some underrated cards.
Yeah.
The only my issue with one championship, I used to like wake up early and watch them, is that at least they used to be on so early in the morning over here on the American East Coast. But yeah, some very talented fighters over there for sure. Let's quickly talk a little UFC 273 here before we bring on Kay Hansen. 2 title fights. One of my personal favorite fighters, the Korean Zombie, is fighting Alexander Volkanovski. And a lot of big favorites in the top 3 cards. Is there any fight that the two of you are looking forward to the most this weekend?
I mean, outside of the title fights? Go ahead.
And title fights included.
Okay.
Well, I'm personally looking forward to Peter Yan versus Alderman Sterling. I told you guys last week that this is a personal fight for me because I'm a big Yan fan, and I was robbed. Of course, I bet on him against Sterling last year. Fight closed around like a near pick'em, and Yan just completely outclassed him, just as I expected. And the the illegal knee got himself disqualified.
There's nothing accidental about that.
Nothing accidental about that. Completely dirty. Got himself disqualified, and now I think he's going to get even with him, and I'm pumped to see it because I also think Yan, we talk about Usman, we talk about Izzy, we talk about Ngannou. I think Yan needs to be in the pound for pound conversation. I know it's a weird topic to talk about because they're obviously all such different sizes, but to me, Yan is such a complete fighter, and I'm always excited to see him fight.
Yeah, there's been some like really crazy trash talk amongst them for a long time now. I mean, even before their first fight, I think there was like a video that Peter posted of like a very drunk homeless man, and he was like pretending it was Aljamain, and then Aljamain was saying recently stuff about Yan being Russian. So it's like it's gotten dirty, and it's getting to the point where it's like a little too much. So I'm looking forward to this to be settled and done, and like let's move on to the next thing.
Have we decided as the MMA world how to pronounce his first name? Some just go Peter. Some say Piotr. Some say Petra.
Yeah, Piotr is, I think, the correct way to say it, but everyone just says Peter. I don't think he corrects anyone, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I have heard several. What's that?
My American self comes out. It just is
the one I think I'm interested in the most is Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev is a massive favorite. We're obviously going to probably talk about these fights a little bit more once we get in the draft, but big step up in competition. Is he worthy of being this big of a favorite? Time will tell. And I think Gilbert Burns is one of the more underrated fighters in the UFC. So that's probably the one I'm most looking. But like you even like go down into like the prelims, and there's a lot of good fights. Rosenstruck against Tybura. Oleinik against Vandera. Good women's fight between Aspen Ladd and Raquel Pennington. Like this is a truly stacked card from beginning to end. Amy, is there a fight that? Go ahead.
No, Amy, you can go. But Ian Gary's also a rising.
That's what I was going to say.
So then go, please, go, please.
I think he's like one of those guys who's like sneaky good and is going to blow up really quick. I think he's a name that a lot of people already know, but like the casuals are still not quite, introduced to him. I think he has a lot of personality. Like he has like a Conor McGregor type personality. And he just got married, so he's got hopefully that new there's not a new dad, but like new husband power there. I'm really looking forward to that fight. personally.
Now, Amy, this card's in Florida, correct? So you are not at this one.
No, and I kept looking at flights, and I was gonna go just for the, just to go, because I was like having major FOMO about not being there, but gas prices are crazy. I couldn't get out there. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Curtis Calhoun chimes in the chat, says Mackenzie Dern versus Tisha Torres gonna be wild. Don't miss that one, of course. Another fantastic women's fight. This one on the main card. Obviously, everyone knows Mackenzie Dern is one of the most decorated and skillful jiu-jitsu artists on planet Earth, male or female. So that's very excited for that one on the main card as well. Have you heard anything from your connections about anything going on the ground leading up this week, Amy? Or a kind of a different version of the same question. Are you nervous now that you don't have that advantage over us of being on the floor and hearing stuff from the fighters when it comes to the draft?
I mean, I'm not nervous because it hasn't quite paid off for me all that much. Like sometimes it has. With that Wellington fight, it really paid off. But yeah, it doesn't always pay off. I haven't heard any rumblings, but I want to ask Kay if she has, because she's there. So I kind of excited to hear what she has to say.
Fighter reporter Kay Hansen. She's going to hopefully give it all here.
Yeah. Speaking of Kay Hansen, I believe she's ready to join us. Women's strawweight fighter fighting this week at UFC 273 against Pierre Rodriguez. Kay, thank you so much for joining us. You were the first one to join the show on the actual week that you're fighting. So thank you for that, for taking some time to join us. Are you in the middle of a weight cut right now? How are you feeling in general right now?
Yeah, I am in the middle of a weight cut. I have a session in a little bit after this. It's my first time going back down to strawweight in a little bit, so I'm excited to make the cut back down. Well, I'm excited to fight back down at this weight class, but not necessarily cut down. But it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, Kay, I was gonna ask you. You've kind of bounced around strawweight and flyweight. This seems like it's your more natural weight class, though. Do you think that's going to lead to a bounce back here? In this return fight at UFC 273.
Definitely. I've had a few fights at 125 throughout my career. However, I feel like most of them, separate from my last one, were against people or girls who could also fight at 115. So I feel like my last fight was my first fight against a true 125er, aside from Aaron Blanchfield in the past. So I definitely think 115 is more my division. You know what I mean? I walk around from like 125 to 130 usually. So I didn't have to cut anything for my last fight. So I definitely think I'll be better suited in the 115 division.
So
what are your thoughts? Go ahead, Amy.
Before we brought you on, this is the trials of having three people interviewing at the same time. Before we brought you on, we were kind of teasing like behind the scenes stuff. Have you seen your opponent yet, or have you seen any like tensions or anything?
No, I have not. I've kind of been more like to myself, I'd say. I didn't have too much on my fight schedule this time. I feel like last time I did, because it was more my hometown. So I had like interview after interview. So I was like out and about. This time is a little more chill. So I've just kind of been keeping to myself. You know what I mean? Especially with a big fight card like this, like people have emotions all raised and like everything. So I'm just kind of keeping to mymyself.
Yeah, we were hoping
like fighting
inside. Fights.
Keep interrupting. Go ahead.
Let's say we thought maybe we'd hear some fight stories like that Patty and Ilya fight a couple weeks ago. Haven't seen it, so we want you to go out and start something.
Okay. I'll document everything I see.
What was it like fighting in your hometown area? Do you feel less pressure this week now without all that extra media attention?
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like no matter what, there's always pressure. You know what I mean? I'm really hard on myself too. So I feel like either way there's pressure, but it's all part of the process and you learn to kind of let it help you. You know what I mean? But it was awesome fighting in my hometown. Now I'm fighting like the furthest from my hometown. So I don't know one here in Jacksonville, but either way, it's going to be a great card. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Kay, based on pay-per-view fight night, is there a difference? I know your last fight was on UFC 270, but is this one, are you now maybe getting more acclimated fighting on pay-per-view, maybe more people in the crowd, or do you like that fight night crowd and it maybe a little bit more dimmed down?
I like the big crowd. I feel like it kind of adds some energy, aside from like my last fight and this fight, all three of my other UFC fights have been at the Apex during like the COVID era. So there was literally no one there. So I remember like, it's so awkward. Like you just kind of hear echoes of coaching and like you still hear the commentators. And I feel like it's just a lot different. It's like a true UFC experience. You know what I mean? When you get to walk out to the crowd. So I'm excited to see how Florida shows up.
Which
do you
coaches
think
have
that's
with you
gonna?
this week?
3 for 3.
I'm going first this time, Amy. Do you think that's
Go.
going? Kay, do you think that's going to work to your advantage a little bit because this is your opponent's actual UFC debut? I know obviously she fought Dana White's Contender Series, but fighting in front of a crowd, do you think this is going to work to your advantage this time?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like at this level, everyone's had some kind of crowd experience for the most part. You know what I mean? Every single one of my opponents has been a UFC debut or two. So this isn't anything new to me, welcoming someone. You know what I mean? But I'm excited. I think it's definitely going to add energy because she's very aggressive and very tough and moves forward a lot. And I do the same thing. So I think it's going to make for a good fight.
Well, I was just going to ask you what coaches you have with you this week.
I have Tyler Wombles, Joe Murphy, Chuy Gutierrez. Those are my 3 cornermen this week. My head coach is Tyler from Classic Fight Team.
Is it the same kind of core you've had for all your fights, or is there anyone new or anything changed up?
So after my debut, I kind of switched it up because my striking needed a lot of work. But I've known everyone for a while. I've been with everyone since the Corey McKenna fight, and then I added my boxing coach in for my last fight. So this will be everyone as a core, their second time together, but they corner like all of our gym fighters together usually. So they have a pretty good, chemistry when it comes to coaching.
Awesome. No one's going to say anything.
Reed, you want to go ahead? Now I'm nervous. I'm going to start talking at the same time as someone else. Go ahead, Reed.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of, listen, I bet on all these fights. That's what I do. Why should we bet on you? Make the sell to me. Why are you going to win this fight? Get back on track with the straw.
I get the betting question a lot, and I will be completely honest. Like, I don't get why people ask me that. Like, it's not my what you want with your money? Of course I think I'm going to win. Every fighter thinks they're going to win. I think experience plays a factor in this. You know what I mean? She is 7-0, but I don't know a lot of the names that she has fought. I'm not saying they're not good opponents, but I'm just saying I have 13 pro fights. This will be either my 13th or my 14th pro fight. I'm only 22, so I'm young, but this isn't my first rodeo. You know what I mean? I've walked the walk for a long time. I've fought tough opponents for a long time. Ever since my second pro fight, I've been fighting savages, so I definitely think that experience is going to play a part of this. You know what I mean? It's not all like brute and aggression, which I feel like she kind of brings to the table for the most part, but I think it's gonna be a lot more than that this fight.
I noticed that are we going to raise our hands now?
No,
I saw Ian's finger go up. I noticed that you, on the way to Florida, you were saying, oh, I wish I could do an AMA on Twitter, but you don't know how the fans are going to react. And I know, like, on a very small level, I kind of get that same kind of interaction with the fans. Do you find it odd that, that fans think that all you can do is fight? Like, you're not allowed to go have a pizza.
I could go on and on about this topic. Ever since, I've fought for Invictus since I was 18, so I'm used to Twitter trolls. You know what I mean? I'm very used to it. It doesn't bother me. You can say what you want. I recently turned them off after my last fight because ever since I've made an OnlyFans, like, it's just a whole nother story. And my biggest thing is, like, number one, I don't have to justify what I do outside of fighting. But number two, I swear, people think like taking photos is gonna distract me. Like, you're gonna take photos regardless. People take selfies, people post stuff on Instagram. You're gonna take photos regardless. People think that me taking photos in my free time is like distracting me from fighting, which most fighters I know have to get another job. So this is a thing that I can have income. I could work around. I have my own schedule. Like, if anything, it helps me focus more. You know what I mean? What am I gonna do? Go work a 9 to 5 and try to schedule my training and get the best training around that? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. People used to throw that in my face. I'm sure they still do, but my comments are off, so I don't know. But people always used to throw that around, like, oh, if you're not so worried about OnlyFans, and it's like, it's literally like not that hard to do. It's not a big part of my day. It's not something that like keeps me from training. You know what I mean? I have my training schedule. I can train whenever I want, however I want, and also still make money. So it's so funny when people think that you can't be like an attractive woman with an OnlyFans and also fight professionally. I swear, if you do one, you can't do the other, which makes no sense to me. But I could go on and on about that subject. So,
and those are the same people that are subscribing too, which is funny. It's
it's crazy, and that's why I turned them off. Well, so for me, my main thing was like, I've been very open with like my past traumas and my past with like sexual abuse and everything. And the reason I turned them off is because people were making comments about that. People were attacking that. And for me, like I said, you could throw all the shade you want. You could say OnlyFans sucks. That's why you suck, whatever. I don't care. But when people started attacking like the sexual abuse and the trauma and stuff like that, that's when I was like, okay, you guys are going too far. And it's always like accounts with like no followers, no, like not even a real person. And then you like, I just found myself like doing the bad thing of like reading comments, but I would just block people all day because the last thing I want is like these nasty comments under all my stuff. You know what I mean? So that's why I ended up taking like my comments off, just because people were getting too carried away. Like I am not a soft person. You can say what you want, but there's certain lines I feel like that people are too comfortable crossing on the internet. So that's the reason I ended up turning mine off.
How do you feel like you brought that there's the state that people are too comfortable on the internet? How do you feel about something like with Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, where like what Colby said brought out a violent reaction? Like what were your thoughts there?
That's a tricky thing because I do think people get too comfortable running their mouth. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of Colby in his fighting sense, but I'm not a fan of his mouth. I don't think most people are. You know what I mean? So you can't just say whatever you want, especially when it comes to like family. You know what I mean? Like you can't attack family. You can't. I think there are certain things that should be off limits. But with that being said, we are athletes. We are professional athletes. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like George had the opportunity to fight him, to beat him, couldn't do it, and then kind of gets a cheap shot in, you know, while he's having a celebratory dinner. So I get both sides because, like, if I was Masvidal, I'd be like, dude, shut the hell up, Colby. You know what I mean? But if you're Colby Covington, like, you're kind of running your mouth, but you also can't just assault people when you want. And it's like, I don't know. It's a murky waters for sure. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. What are we going to do about it?
How much better has kind of your headspace been since you've shut off comments? I know there's definitely some days I wish I could just shut off comments. It gets hard on the head to just scroll Twitter comments all day. Has it improved your mental health at all?
I mean, I would say so. You know, like I said, ever since I was 18, I'm used to seeing them. So it's not something that was like bothering me too much until it got to the point of, you know, crossing lines that they shouldn't. And honestly, it's helped a lot because I used to be more of a big social media person. I'm like, you know, this is my market, this is my brand. And ever since I've shut the comments off, like I literally will just post a picture and get off the internet. And I feel like it's a lot easier because you don't like, because my biggest thing was I didn't care about the comments, but I didn't want like a supporter to come on and just see these nasty comments. And then people would be arguing in my comment section. And I was like, I don't want this place of like war in my comment section. And that's the reason I would like sit back and delete. But then once I realized like, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my energy. Like I just limited them. So if I follow you, you can, you know, comment on my stuff. So I just limited them. And it's been a lot easier because it's not like a war zone under my comment section. You know what I mean? And like, it wasn't very often that I'm not like sitting there scrolling all day, every day through my comments, but you know, I'd post a picture and like at night when I'm about to go to bed, I go on and I'm just like, what are these people saying? Like, how do you even think that, let alone type it and send it, you know? So it's been a lot better. I feel like it just makes my page like more wholesome, at least for my eyes. So I like it. I'm probably not going to change it anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got a shout out Serial Chiller in the chat, says Kay Hansen, I believe in you, girl. Go get that 50K bonus, baby. Let's go.
Thank you.
That's How awesome. Nice would a 50K bonus be this weekend?
It would be great. You know what I mean? It's been a long time. I mean, for my debut, I got a bonus, but I thought the Corey McKenna fight was pretty close. You know, I thought I could have pulled it off. So I'm on a 2-fight losing streak. And you can make excuses for anything you want, but the fact is I'm on a 2-fight losing streak. So I'm excited to get back in that win column this weekend.
Is there any added pressure that you feel at all, the fact that you're on that 2-fight losing streak?
No, not at all. I feel like my last fight, I was like the extreme like favorite. And it was like everyone thought I was going to like knock her out and all this. And I'm getting all these crazy things said to me. And I feel like it's easier having no expectations. You know what I mean? Like I know what I'm capable of, and so does my team and everyone around me. So that's never been an issue. But you can't control what other people think of you or what other people predict. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't think it really matters either way. Whether I'm coming off a 2-fight losing streak, a 1-fight losing streak, a win, you're gonna have pressure regardless. So for me, it's like what it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Reed.
No, I was going to ask, you just changing gears, you are on a card, 2 title fights. What are we thinking? The 2 title fights, do you have an opinion? Do you have a side? What are you thinking? I mean, obviously.
I got Iain and then I got Volk. Those are my 2 picks. I think the Volk fight's gonna be good, but I just think Volk's on a different level. You know what I mean? I'm a big Korean Zombie fan, and I think it'll be a good like first or second round. But I think over the championship rounds, I think that's when Volk will kind of show his colors. Because I was there when he fought Brian at in Vegas for his last title fight, and it was just like he's crazy. He's on a different level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that one though. And then for Iain and Aljo, I think Iain's gonna win. You know, I think same thing probably in the later rounds. I think Iain is really smart and he's very dangerous. You know what I mean? So I could see him even like waiting out danger and then coming in for the kill.
Mm.
Are they going to let you stay and watch the fights, or do they ship you back to the hotel?
I get a couple complimentary tickets since I fight on the card. But I am one short, and they did so at the Honda Center. They didn't let us back in. Like we couldn't like come back and watch, which kind of sucks because I was like, man, I'm in my hometown, and you know what I mean. But it makes sense because if you have every fighter and then there are 2 or 3 corners coming in where we, you know what I mean. So I get it. But I do have a couple tickets. I am one short though, so I might try to like get my coaches in and then try to squeeze in myself with stay in my fighter gear and show them my badge. Maybe they'll let me in, but we'll see. I'd like to because I think it's gonna be a really good card.
Yeah.
A couple of people in the comments right now wishing you good luck. Jackson Chump, Kay Hansen, good luck. Much love. Melissa Delgadillo. I'm sorry, I definitely just butchered your last name. Good luck, Kay Hansen. Looking forward to seeing you fight. So we're all going to be cheering for you. I do have one more sports betting related question really quick. I know that you said you get a lot of ones asking why people should bet on you, but I'm curious, and I asked this to basically any fighter that we talk to or any athlete from a different sport that I talk to. Do you ever look at the odds? Are you curious what your odds are ahead of a fight, or do you just not even think about that?
No, I don't really pay attention. If I'm being honest, I have no idea how betting works. I mean, like, obviously I have a general idea. I'm not like dumb. For me, like when I look at odds and I'm like this or that, I don't know how any of it works. And for me, it's just like, obviously like everyone has their own opinion, and it's like a lot of these people that bet don't fight. So for me, I'm just like, if you see my opponent who's 7-0 and hits really hard and like, okay, she's going to beat her because she's 7-5 and she's on a 2 fight. You know what I mean? And it's just like, of course I'm going to be the underdog. So for me, I kind of can already guess who people think is going to win just based on what they see on the outside. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't even usually bother to try to figure out if I'm the favorite or the underdog. I just kind of have tunnel vision and focus on what I'm doing.
I will say we've had UFC fighters on the show and actually make predictions with us, and they have beaten us in our competition every single time that they're on the show. So being fighters is clearly more beneficial when betting than being actual sports bettors like myself and Reed are. We do have to ask you this. I know obviously you think you're going to win. Do you have an official prediction whatsoever, or are you kind of anti-prediction? Do you have a prediction for your fight?
Yeah, I'm not big on predictions, you know, because at the end of the day, both of us are looking for a finish. You know what I mean? And I have my methods, and I've also improved a lot. You know what I mean? I think I showcased a lot more striking my last fight, and I'm excited to showcase it against someone my size, you know. And but I mean, I think we're both tough, and I think it's gonna end in a finish either way. But it's gonna be on my end.
Well, Amy, Reed, unless you two have any further questions here, we can let Kay go. Kay, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck this weekend. Thank you for joining the Week Your Fight. Good luck with your weight cut and everything leading up to this weekend. We will be rooting for you. So thank you very much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yay.
Awesome stuff.
First time we've ever had a fighter the week of. It made me a little bit more nervous, to be honest. Good luck to her.
Incredibly insightful, though. And, you know, I'm definitely pulling for her. And, you know, she definitely gave some good insight, especially on fight week, like what her mentality is going into this fight. Because, you know, like we said, 2 losses, she's looking for a win. But so is, you know, Rodriguez. So this, you know, I'm excited for that fight on the undercard.
Yeah.
So now we'll be getting to the bet draft part of the show. Now it's going to be awkward if we just interview Kay Hansen and one of you bet against her, but we'll see if anyone's willing to do that. For those of you who are new, who have not watched this, this is kind of our little sports betting fun portion of the show that we do. We do a snake draft with picks for this weekend's card. So what we are going to do is 3, maybe 4 rounds, depending on how the time goes, because we still have Matt Fervola that we got to get on here at the top of the hour. But it's a snake draft. Someone's going to pick first. They pick who their best bet of the card is. When that fighter is selected, nobody else can obviously draft that bet, and it will be based on odds, obviously. And then we will have our picks, and then whoever finishes with the best record up the most amount of units at the end of the card is deemed the winner. I am still looking for my first draft win. Reed and Amy. Amy, I think you have one or two, and Reed, you have a couple wins as well.
I mean, I think my one is only because we didn't count the fighter that week too. So like technically I don't even, you know what I mean? Like
I think you have two, but I think one of them was when we had a fighter on and they won. I think you have one solo win. I think you do.
Well,
yeah, I think Amy has one. I think I also won another one when the fighter was on, though. But I have another one also. Right. All I know is, though, Iain, you're still over.
I have no wins at all.
Gotta get off the schneid here. Pay-per-view week. We just had Kay Hansen on. You're dressed to the nines. You gotta get off the schneid.
I went over 3 last week, though. That's really bad. I've never done that bad before.
No, but to be fair, Amy, like I said, you chose 3 underdogs. So sometimes if you're getting a little risky with underdogs, that happens sometimes. Yeah. Chime in the chat. I think I mispronounced your name last time, so I apologize. Please correct me. I think it's Zan Bando. Because I think last time I said Zane, and I think that was incorrect. Illinois writer, I believe Illinois writer for us. Big card.
And he writes for FanSided MMA as well.
He does. Yes, that's correct. I just remember he stormed the court. Was it Illinois? I'm pretty sure it was Illinois. Yes. There was footage of him storming the court, which is awesome. Yeah.
And you nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah. Awesome. So let's get into the draft here. Reed, you won out of the 3 of us, even though Jalen Turner won the last draft. So pick the order. Go ahead. What are you going with this week?
So order-wise, I have a few leans. I don't feel very strongly. Like I need something. Like I have a few that I like, but nothing I'm super strong on just yet. So I'm going to go Amy, Iain, myself, and then obviously snake it back around with myself, Iain, Amy, and then back again.
Okay, so I'm second. Also, important rule, the first round is undercard only. So no main card fights in the first round. Rounds 2 and 3, we will be jumping into the main card as well. But you also can still obviously pick prelim fights. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I have to start. Okay, I'm going to go probably all underdogs again, just because that's how I roll.
I like it. I'm a big underdog guy, so I like it.
Yes, so hopefully my picks were correct. I think I have them written down right. Okay, so I'm going to go Aspen Ladd for my first pick.
Good pick.
I think that she has so much power. I think she's had some issues, obviously, with weight cutting. Why are you looking confused, Iain?
I'm not. Sorry. I'm just tweeting. I'm tweeting out the link to remind people we're jumping into the draft. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amy.
Is something wrong? Is she not on the card? I just have to preface it when I'm not at an event, I lose track of like who's fighting and on what part of the card and like who pulled out and all this. I'm like not as in the loop there, so I always have to double check when I'm not there. So anyways, yes. So Aspen Ladd. Yeah, I think that she's had obviously issues with weight cutting, but I think she's finding her groove. I think it's weird that she's an underdog, to be honest. I don't know. Something tells me something whispered Aspen Ladd to me. So.
And I believe Pennington's coming in on short notice, if I'm not mistaken, either. So you know, we've discussed that's sometimes counterproductive. So we'll see. I kind of agree with that pick. I like it.
Yay. I feel good about it.
All right, so it's on me. I was supposed to send the production team my pick. I apologize for that. We're just going to have to go on the fly here. I'm going to go with a fighter who is actually from my home province. This is not only a Canadian. This is a Nova Scotian. And I think this is only the 3rd Nova Scotian to fight in the UFC. If my math is correct, Chris Kalidis I know is one. I think there was one other. Mike Mallet. From Halifax, Nova Scotia. Minus 205. Again, yeah. I didn't know that either until I started researching this card a little bit further. He is making his UFC debut. He did fight on Dana White's Contender Series. Minus 205. Perfect. And in his Dana White Contender Series fight, he pulled off a submission win in 39 seconds. So getting a win in 39 seconds is one thing.
Yes. Getting
a submission win in 39 seconds is a completely other thing. So this is a guy who's fought 7 or 8 times. He's 7-1, All 7 of his wins have come by finish. So I know obviously he's fighting a guy who's a little bit more experienced than Mickey Gall. But I mean, you can't deny those 7 finishes. He is a little bit of a chalky favorite, but I want to get my win under my belt here in the first round. And I didn't want to let you two have a chance to pick my hometown hero, who is now immediately my favorite fighter in the UFC because he's from Halifax. Mike Proper Mallet. Oh, of course, TJ Grant. I got to shout out TJ Grant was one of the greatest Nova Scotia athletes of all time. Had a title fight against Benson Henderson, got a bad concussion, never fought in the UFC ever again. One of the greatest what-ifs in UFC history is TJ Grant. Shout out to him. I used to see him around Halifax all the time. Shout out to, I wonder if Mike Mallet trains with TJ Grant. That'd be interesting. Yeah, actually, it looks like he's team Alpha Male, so he might maybe move to California. But yeah, Mike Mallet's my first pick. I've talked enough. Reed, go ahead. Your first pick last pick of the first round.
Yeah, I like the Aspen Ladd pick. That was one of the people on my short list. I was not looking at Mike Mallet, to be honest, but I got 2 picks here. So for the first one, I will go with Marcin Tybura against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Listen, I get Rozenstruik has the power. He could finish this fight in a minute. I understand that. But Tybura's kind of like a grinder. I think he's going to get this to the mat, at least up against the cage, sap the power of Rozenstruik, plus 125. I like Tybura as a small underdog. This reeks of Tybura by decision, like a really gross 30-27, 29-28 win. Again, I think Rozenstruik has one path to victory. It's can he land that knockout punch? I think Tybura is going to be able to hold up here. I'm not expecting a really pretty fight, but I like Tybura plus 125.
That pick was on my list. You stole one on me there. I was thinking, I like that quite a bit. So that's the end of the first round. Let's recap the first round. If we have the graphic ready there, Amy, what was your first pick again? There it is, Aspen Ladd. That's right, Aspen Ladd as an underdog. Mike Mallet, myself, I was the only person to go favorite in the first round, minus 205, big favorite, but just give me the win right off the bat. And then Marcin Tybura, plus 125 for the first round.
How bad does it feel when your first round loses, though? When you're like for sure loses, you know? Because that's that my draft is always like, ugh, like I'm never like so sure someone's gonna win, so I never really get that disappointed.
Okay, low expectations. See, yeah. I'm convinced that everything, all of these are hits. So, I'm predicting 3-0 off the bat. So, it's the tale of two sides.
Yes.
Yeah, and I tweeted this out like last week. If my bet hits, it's because I handicapped it right and I'm a genius. And if it didn't hit, it's not my fault. It's because the bad person had a bad training camp. The judges screwed me over. Losses are never my fault, and I will stand by that. Reed, we are back to you because it's snake draft. First pick, second round, main cards wide open. I hope you aren't taking the person who I'm taking because I forgot it was a snake draft, so I thought I was up next. But yeah, you get 2 picks in a row. Go ahead.
I am still on the prelim card, I believe.
Good.
Yes. No, just kidding. It's on the main card now. I'm going to go Vince Pichel as a small
I think it's prelim.
That's okay, even if it is.
Oh, yeah, I see he was on the main card, but we're good on main card, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yes. So
Vince main card.
Yeah, Vince Pichel as a moderate favorite. I watched Mark Madsen his last fight, split decision win. I wasn't very impressed. And Pichel, he's a little bit older. I know he's 39, but he has a crazy gas tank. He's able to really push the pace. And I think that Madsen, Olympic wrestler, he's going to try and grapple, but Pichel has great grappling defense. He's a veteran. I like Pichel in this fight. I think he's going to end up looking like a bigger favorite. Maybe it does go to the cards, but I think Pichel has knockout power. He could kind of wrap this up with some ground and pound, but as a small favorite, I don't think that this is like too much of a price to pay. So I'll take Pichel as a small favorite.
You cannot bet against a mustache like that.
That it is a very enticing part of getting him in the draft, having easily the most electric looking draft so far.
People love why do people love mustaches so much? There was a guy on St. Peter's in the March Madness tournament. He had a mustache, and then it turned into. I'm just gonna grow a mustache just for my brand alone, just so people like me more. I don't know what it is about a mustache.
Can you grow a mustache? Can we get the graphic back up there? Can you grow a mustache like this though? Like I can't grow anything like that. I would grow.
never
like
Becomes your mouth.
I've never tried to grow one that thick. I've done Movember in the past where I grow for the month in November, and it does get pretty thick, but I think I would have to let it grow for a few months, and I don't know if it could get to that point. In fairness, you're right. That is a very nice filled out mustache.
That's like he has like more hair on his mouth than he does on his head. Like this is like, that's like grown out and like really well kept. But anyway. That's for another episode when we grow out the mustache.
The mustache episode. Oh my gosh, we should draft the best facial hair in the UFC.
That's what I was just going to say, yeah. Mustache draft. All right, so it's back to me. You did not take the fighter that I was looking to take, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to take the women's fight on the main card, and I'm going to take Mackenzie Dern, minus 115. Very slight favorite here. Pretty simple handicap. I mean, I talked about this, I think it was at the top of the show. Mackenzie Dern is one of the most decorated fighters, decorated jiu-jitsu fighters in the world, male or female. If she can take her opponent down, she wins the fight because she just submits everyone. Now, to be fair, that has been an issue because her takedown accuracy is 10%. Which is not good. That's a terrible takedown accuracy, to be fair. She is certainly not a wrestler. But Tisha Torres has a takedown defense of 58%. So not necessarily the best takedown defense in the world. She's been taken down twice in 2 of her last 3 fights. So I will take Dern as a slight favorite here and hope that she can take Tisha Torres down to the ground. But I mean, this is what basically every single Mackenzie Dern fight comes down to. If she takes her down, it's going to be hard for her opponent to win. So I'm going to bank on her being able to get Tisha Torres down and pull off the submission. So Mackenzie Dern, slight favorite in this one. Reach advantage too. Now that we're looking at the draft, I kind of like a reach advantage there. And her striking has come along. When she first was in the UFC, her striking was absolutely abysmal, to be fair. I mean, her strength was obviously her jiu-jitsu, a world champion in jiu-jitsu, but her striking has come along, which is always nice to see. It's good to see some jiu-jitsu fighters get some striking. So Mackenzie Dern is my second pick.
She's found her weight cut kind of recipe, I think, as well. She was struggling with that for a little bit, and she doesn't seem to be struggling. Like, it's not like this, is she going to make weight anymore like it used to
Right. I did forget about that, but yeah, early in her UFC career, she had some weight cut issues. That's right. So Mackenzie Dern, my second round pick. Amy, we are back to you. Your last pick of the second round.
I'm going to go another underdog. I'm going Gilbert Burns, which I think everyone's going to laugh in my face.
No, I thought that was going to drop to me next round. So I'm
happy I'm happy we're drafting this though, so we could talk about this fight.
Yeah, because so obviously Khamzat is crazy good. Like, there's no argument there. Everybody's saying like, he's only starting out in the UFC and all this stuff, which is true, but he's gotten to a level that most people starting out in the UFC have not gotten to. I do believe that Gilbert Burns is going to be the toughest opponent so far. I think it's going to be such a good fight. I feel like it's going to be fight of the night. I think it's going to go to the scorecards. I can't count out Gilbert Burns. Like, he's just too good. I think we'll see a third round for the first time because I don't think Khamzat's gone to the third round. And I think that he's just not going to be ready for it. I think he's just not ready for that kind of a fight.
Interesting that you just said it's going to go to the third round, because if it does go to the third round, he actually said something, I think it was this week, maybe it was last week. Days are all just mushing together between March Madness and the Masters for me right now. But he said that he can only breathe out of one nostril. Now, obviously, in his fights, the output that he has in his fights is insane, but he's never been to a third round. Is he going to be able to put out that level of output for 3 straight rounds, especially considering the fact that he can only breathe out of one nostril? But yeah, I believe, if I remember correctly, and Melissa says, I agree, Amy. I feel people underestimate Burns. He will definitely be a challenge for Khamzat. Khamzat. Sorry, Khamzat?
I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know. That's what I call him.
Chimaev is definitely the way he pronounces his last name. Do all 3 of us agree Gilbert Burns is being underrated in this fight? I think we can all agree with that, right?
Yes. But at the same time, Chimaev might be that good. Like, again, I think that we could acknowledge this is a huge step up for him. But at the same time, Chimaev might also be like on another level that. But this is like baking it in, and this is like something I like to fade all the time, like this like trendy prospect. But Chimaev might, I think we could all agree he might actually just be on another level.
And I think even to be, sorry, Amy, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I don't think if that he loses to Burns that he was like
100%.
that it all was wrong and he wasn't as good as he was. Like I don't think that's the case at all. I think that he's still so new. If he loses, it's just one peg in the ladder. It's like it's not the end. It's not like, oh, he was a wash. He was just kidding. He wasn't that great. I mean, he's definitely a good fighter.
Yeah, and I think I think Chimaev he should be the favorite, the betting favorite, but I think the odds are just completely mispriced. Like, what was Gilbert Burns plus 400 or 500 dog? Like, that's insane. That's like a massive mismatch. Like if you're basing it off the odds, and I think it's much closer than that. But Chimaev probably does deserve to be the favorite. But yeah, I think the quote that I said, whatever injury caused the scar that he has, also messed up the nostril on that side. So if I remember correctly, don't sue me if I'm not. But that injury has now caused him to only be able to breathe out of one nostril, which is crazy that still even be able to be as dominant of a UFC fighter and put out the output that he has with breathing only out of one nostril. But like I said, has never been to a third round of a fight and has only been to the second round 3 times.
My one issue with Burns in this fight is he puts himself in a lot of like dangerous situations, and Chimaev could really pounce on that. Like if I imagine Burns is going to come forward, he's going to initiate action. The question is, can he hold up and weather that first storm, that first kind of exchange? Because Chimaev is going to bring the power. He's dangerous on the ground. Can Burns get out of that situation? Really like kind of feel it and be like, okay, I know what this guy's about. Let's try and see how the second round goes and so on. So I could see it ending really early. But then, of course, if Burns could kind of hold up, to me, it's Chimaev early, Burns late as like a handicapping approach to this fight.
Burns is 7-1 in his last 8 fights, with the only loss coming to the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world, and now he's a plus 4 or 5 underdog. That's just crazy to me.
Happens quickly.
That completes the second round. Amy, you are going to pick again, but before we get to your first pick of the third round, let's recap here. Amy, 2 underdogs off the bat. We'll see if she goes 3 underdogs once again. I am going with a second favorite. Mackenzie Dern's obviously only a slight favorite, though. And Reed, you're going with Mustache Mania himself. What is it? Inspechel, minus 135. So now you have a slight underdog and a slight favorite. So 3 people, 3 different strategies so far in this draft. So it's interesting to see how that's going to turn out. Amy, back to you for your third round pick. We'll see how we are doing on time. It might be your last pick. It might not be.
Well, actually, I'm just texting right now with Matt. He's just asking how to get in. So give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves, and I'll give him the intro to get in. Then we can pull him on in.
All right, then we'll bring up the comment from Serial Chiller, who says, I've got Tybura too. Trust me, he's going to ground and pound him out. No takedown defense from, I believe he just misspelled his name, and now that's thrown off my pronunciation.
Jairzinho.
Rosenstruck.
Yes.
Yes, I will literally never conquer pronouncing people's names right, and UFC is the worst. But yeah, you picked him, and I was going to pick him for the exact same reason, because if it's going to be a stand-up fight, I will take Rosenstruck every single time. But if he fights a guy who can take him down, Curtis Blades took him down 3 times in their fight last time, that's dangerous. You never want to bet on a kickboxer when he's taking on a guy who can take you down. So absolutely. I agree with that.
Okay, so Matt should be joining us any second, but I think it's safe for me to do my pick since I am picking his teammate, Alderman Sterling.
You're taking the underdog route.
We're taking the underdogs of the underdogs.
You're going all in.
Yeah. I don't know why. Like, I feel like if I'm betting on someone, I don't know. Like, it's so easy to bet on the favorite. It like doesn't excite me. It doesn't like give me any like, ooh, I want to watch this now, or like I want that like feeling of that nervousness, So that's why I always go with underdogs. But yeah, I think Aljamain, I know that we talked about this before. I think it's going to be difficult. I think it's going to be a really close fight. But Aljamain has something to prove a little bit more than Piotr has. I believe that he has to show people what he couldn't show them the first time. And I think I said this last time, we did not see, there's something was off with Aljamain. I don't know if it was nerves or what, but it wasn't what I've seen in him. And so I think if he can deliver what I expected the first fight, then I think he gets it. And I think it'll be a decision. I think it might be split. It might be controversial. And we might have to see a third fight, which is not something I necessarily want to see because I said I want to put it aside. But yeah, I'm putting my money on Aljamain.
I mean, basically, Amy, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up where if either of your two big underdogs win, you're going to win the draft. You certainly don't need both of them to win. If one of them wins, you will be the winner, and I will lose my 10th straight draft. A couple comments really quick before we get back to me. Serial Chiller chiming in again. I agree with all your picks, Amy. Aljo versus Iain is a 50-50 fight. And there was value on the odds for Sterling. Interesting take. I don't agree, to be honest. I think Iain is a much better fighter.
Not the second time. I was with him on the Tybura thought, not the Sterling thought.
I will say, though, I do agree with Amy that Aljamain Sterling did not look himself in the first fight. I do agree with that. He certainly was not at his best. There's no doubt about that. But is his best good enough? If he does bring his best this weekend, will it be good enough? Time will tell. I have been wrong plenty of times before.
He had that neck surgery too, so that could have been affecting him in the first fight. Now that that's fixed, we may see a totally different fighter. You never know.
We're going to get to Matt here in a couple minutes. We will do the last two picks here. We will not do a fourth round here since Matt's ready to join us here in a couple minutes. Melissa, once again, Melissa, I'm going to butcher your last name. Delgadillo. I'm assuming the L's are silent. Maybe not. It would be crazy if Aljamain beat Piotr for the win. It would be crazy. That would be wild. It's possible. Certainly. Definitely could be possible. Big underdogs have certainly won plenty of times in the past, especially in title fights. Back to me. My final pick of the draft. I'll try to be quick here. I'm going to go Alexei Oleinik in a pick him against Jared Van Dera.
That's what I wanted. I love the boa.
Did I just steal your pick?
Yeah, you stole mine.
Good, because you steal my picks all the time. So finally a little revenge in that factor. But I backed Jared against Andrei Arlovsky and lost. That was a split decision. Not going to make that same mistake again. This kind of is similar to the Tybura Rosenstruck fight. Van Dera has a takedown defense of just 20%. And now he's fighting a guy who has 46 career submission wins. Once again, 4-6 career submission wins. That is an insane number, especially at that weight class. So, like I said, easy handicap. A guy who can't defend takedowns is taking on the best, one of the best heavyweight submission artists of all time. So, Alexei Oleinik as a pick of -110.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably going to look to bet Boa by submission, Boa round one. Again, it's line like a coin flip. I just think, both these guys are going to gas out. He's so old, but what's Van Dera going to do? If this hits the mat, he's toast. So one takedown's all he needs. I don't think he's going to knock him out or anything. So I agree with you there. He was kind of my next pick. I think my picking third strategy kind of backfired for me.
Speaking of which, take us home, Reed. You got the last pick of the draft.
Yeah, the only person left on my sheet. I'm going with Mickey Gall as an underdog. Obviously had to get Ian back there. Yeah.
I'm going against my hometown boy.
I'm going to go against Nova Scotia. I'm going to go against Halifax. Bring it on.
Never bet against Nova Scotia, Mike.
Yeah, this is a pure just price. Gall's more of a veteran. I don't love Mallett's kind of lack of activity. He's only fought twice since 2019. I know he had the early finish in the Contender Series, but I don't know. Gall's kind of a veteran. He's fought in at least professional UFC fighters before. I'll take the experience at a nice price, but I'm not super confident in it, but it's a nice payout. So give me Mickey Gall +170.
Good. You shouldn't be confident. Betting against Nova
As
Scotia,
I said, I think I'm going 3-0 every week, but now I end up with a guy I think is going to lose. But let's bring it home, Mickey Gall. Let's get back Nova Scotia.
Some of the toughest people in North America over in the Maritimes, bud. Good luck there. So that concludes our draft. I'm feeling very good about my draft, but I've said that every time and I've never won one. So if we can, before we bring Matt on, let's recap here. Amy going Aspen Ladd, Gilbert Burns, Aljamain Sterling. I'm going Mike Mallet from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Mackenzie Dern and Alexei Olenek and Reed Jogon, Marcin Tybura, Vince Pichel, and Mickey Gall, 2 underdogs and a favorite. So very different drafts from all three of us. Is excited to see how that turns out this weekend. Serial Chiller, another comment. It's unwise to bet favorites in this card, says Serial Chiller. There will be some big surprises on a big pay-per-view card. All right.
True.
I like Serial
Chiller. I like their name
Serial Chilling in the comments.
I'm Serial Chiller. No, I'm just kidding.
It would be just my kind of luck if I go 3-0, but because I bet favorites, like one of Amy's big underdogs hits, and then I just lose anyways, even though I go 3-0. Because technically, like I could go 3-0 and still lose if one of Amy's big underdogs hits. So
yeah, but you took like 2, like they're like favorites, but nothing crazy. Yeah, like that wasn't super crazy or anything. The Mallet pick is obviously a considerable favorite, but nothing crazy.
All right. Let's bring him in to wrap up the show here. We are going to talk to UFC lightweight fighter Matt Fervola. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Matt. I got to ask you right away. You wore a Paddy Pimblett wig there a couple weeks ago. Do you want to fight this guy? Are you going to get the chance to fight this guy? I got to say, you look kind of cute in the wig there. What was that all about, man?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fight makes sense, and it's going to happen. Paddy's got a lot of hype, and I don't know anyone else better to derail another hype train than your boy, the Steamroller. So I think that's going to be a great fight. He's tough everywhere, but so am I, and it's going to be fireworks. He says that these scousers can't get knocked out. But, I'm going to definitely put that to the test. So I'm excited.
So
Go ahead, Reed.
No, I was going to ask, is there any movement on this fight? Or is this you're just calling him out and waiting to hear back from him? Is there a timeline?
Yeah, I'm definitely calling him out. And my manager, Jason House, is pushing it to the UFC. But it sounds like they want to wait for them to go back to London for Paddy. So I might have to wait till they go back to London. I'm trying to get 3 fights in this year. So I'm hoping that they could go back, at August. But, this is a big enough fight that I'm willing to wait a little bit to get this fight. So we'll see.
So you wouldn't want to fight someone in the meantime?
We'll see. If it's August, I think that's like the latest I would be willing to wait. If they tell me, August, we're going back to London, you got a co-main event spot against Paddy, then we're good to go. But if not, I told them I'm gonna be ready all summer. So June, July, I'll be ready. So we'll see.
Do you think Paddy is being overrated because of his accent and the crazy antics on the mic and his weird haircut? Do you think he's being overrated because of that? Because he's kind of a fan favorite at this point?
A little bit, but he's good, no doubt. He was a double champ for Cage Warriors. And he's got a submission, he's got a knockout, so he's pretty well rounded. But he really hasn't been tested. And that's what I like about this fight is, I want to go in there and really test him on the ground, test him on the feet, and really see if the hype is real, because I don't think it is. I think I'm going to go in there, I'm going to steamroll him. I don't think he's ever fought anyone like me that could just go in there and beat him everywhere, which is what I plan to do.
It's in the name.
You mentioned Cage Warriors. You mentioned 2 division champion. Well, I want to pull up a picture of you with Conor McGregor from Fight Island. I think there we go. I want to know, what was it like being that close to Conor? Did you guys talk? Can you kind of give us a little insight there?
Yeah, that was real cool. I was just up at the Abu Dhabi pool, and I was swimming, and then McGregor rolls up to the other side of the pool, and we're all talking oh, McGregor's over there. So then me and Billy Q, we had to go walk over and say what's up to him. And, I walked right up to him and was just kind of just what's up, Conor? The first UFC event I ever went to was when Conor fought Dennis Seaver in Boston. And I was just telling him about the atmosphere, the Irish fans that he brought. And then, Billy Q was getting stopped by security. Billy Q couldn't get past Conor's security. But eventually, we waved him, got him through. And yeah, he was very cool. He was humble when I was talking to him, and for being such a superstar, it was cool to kind of just talk to him and he was normal person. But I will say his Irish accent was so thick, I could almost like not even understand him.
Matt, you've been training with Alderman Sterling, I believe, leading up to this fight. What are your kind of thoughts on his chances, kind of how last fight went, how Alderman's looking heading into this fight? What are your thoughts on him?
Oh, I am so excited. I'm going to Jacksonville tomorrow. I'm pretty pumped about this. Aljo's been looking so good in camp. I watched his last sparring session and watched him go like 3 hard rounds with Merab and then put Dennis Bazooka right on him for the next 2 rounds. And he's on point. Let's just say he's on point everywhere. His striking, his wrestling, his jiu-jitsu is top notch. And I think that's the real game changer. And as Aljo is such an underdog, if Aljo gets it to the ground, gets his back, he just needs one opportunity to finish the fight, and he's always got that in his back pocket. And I think that his cardio is on point now. He figured that out. He's a very like analytical guy. He broke down that last fight, that last camp so much. And I think he's really gonna make the corrections, and he's gonna come out there and shock the world like us Long Island guys do all the time. Chris Weidman, Matt Serra, and it's gonna be Aljamain Sterling next.
So sorry, guys, I got booted, I think. I wanted to ask before we get too far into Aljo, that picture with Connor, was that Fight Island? Was that the fight where your opponent was pulled out because of that weird thing he had done? Is that the fight?
Yep. That was when
Okay.
Otman Zaitar like smuggled his bag of potatoes in, and he cut him because he smuggled a bag of potatoes. And then he also hasn't fought in over a year because I think he needs time to get the potatoes out of his system. That's another guy I really want to beat up. But we'll see. This guy doesn't even fight. But I really want the Patty fight. I think that's the fight to make. But eventually, I'm gonna have to beat up Otman.
Did you hear that he came into the media room a month after that with like a bag of potatoes and was waving it around like joking? And I was like, you should not be doing that.
Yeah, guy's a joke.
Room. Yeah.
He's not a fighter. He just likes to roll around in like little scooters when he's in Vegas and go on Instagram, and he's not a real fighter.
Matt, do you and ask Kay this when we interviewed her at the top of the show, do you ever look at betting odds at all for your fight or for anyone else's fights?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd say the majority of my buddies are degenerate gamblers, so they're always asking me all the picks. But then they ask me the picks, and whatever I say, they usually bet the opposite, and they usually fade me, I guess. But I've definitely paid attention to all that.
Well, so what are your thoughts on the card this weekend? Obviously the Aljo fight, but just in general, any kind of big takeaways heading into UFC 273?
Yeah, the Chimaev fight with Burns. I mean, I think they're really disrespecting Burns. I think Burns is legit a great. He could bang, and then his jiu-jitsu is top notch. And I think at that, what is he like a plus 400 or something?
Yeah,
405. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a live dog right there. Chimaev has not been tested yet. I think I'm not going to jump on the Chimaev train, until I see him overcome some adversity. He needs to get rocked and come back, or he needs to, have a good fight with, somebody who's really going to test him before I really jump on that train. I mean, I'm here to watch it. I love it. I love watching him and just all the hype. But I think that Burns is a live dog for sure. Have
you ever bet on your own fight?
No, I've never bet on my own fight, but all my buddies do. I'm definitely gonna be putting a nice bet on Aljamain this weekend.
Awesome. Do you have an idea of how? Go ahead.
Really quick, that's what I was gonna ask. Aljamain, you've probably looked at the odds, plus 365. So you're saying he is worth the bet this weekend as a big underdog?
Oh, 100%.
All right.
I've never seen him look this good. He's I mean, he's a freak in the gym. His jiu-jitsu is unreal. His stand-up is very unorthodox, but it's very effective. And then his wrestling, his MMA wrestling it doesn't get better. I just, I know Peter Yan is amazing fighter and how, he calculates people and all that. But you even rewatch that last fight. Aljo was outworking him and won the first 2 rounds, and then he faded. And I think that he corrects that cardio, and he's able to outwork Yan and eventually get it to the ground and really just maul him. And it's gonna shock the world like we've done before. I can't wait, and I'm gonna be there live, cage side. Let's go.
Do you think there might be a chance that this could become like a really big rivalry in the UFC, that maybe we'll see a third fight depending on how the outcome of this fight goes?
Definitely. I think this is going to be huge for Aljo and his career as a whole. Peter Yan is the perfect villain. I never met him. But just the things that he's been saying, he's the perfect villain. And even when I said that when the fight first happened, like the last fight when it just happened, I was like, all right, this is perfect. It's going to make for a huge rematch. Everyone's going to hate Yan because he's cheating. And he for what he did, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be great. And then it was crazy how it switched, and everyone hated Aljo. I was like, what world are we living in? Like, this guy did the illegal knee. He's like he's the villain. He's the villain, and Aljo's the man. He's helps everyone so much. He's like, and he's a good dude. It's just making for a huge rematch. I'm so excited for this weekend, and once Aljo beats him up, I'm definitely see it a trilogy down the line.
Now I've got a question. Let's say, God forbid, Aljamain doesn't win. There's another guy at the gym who I think would be a really good matchup. I know you know who I'm talking about, because they have some rivalry outside of the gym. I'm talking about Merab. Do you think that could be a fight that Aljamain #1 would support, and how do you see a fight like that going?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think Aljamain gets to beat him up, and then let Merab beat him up. I think that's definitely would be happening. And Merab runs through him. Merab runs through him like the machine does. He strikes with him, he takes him down, he lets him up. He strikes with him, he takes him down, he beats him up. He's just Merab is a beast and one of the best guys on the team. And it's crazy. We got the 2 of the best 135ers in the world. Every time I go with these guys, I feel like I need to go down a weight class. It's crazy.
What happens if Aljamain gets the title? Because Merab is pretty close to the top, and we already know they won't fight each other. What happens there? Do we see, one of them going to another gym? Do you see one of them changing weight classes? Like, what do you think is going to happen there?
No way. I think that as long as Aljamain's the king, Merab will be the second man, the gatekeeper, beating up everyone who's trying to get to the king. That's how we roll.
The enforcer.
Exactly. Merab will be the enforcer. Just keep taking everyone out who's trying to get to Aljo. And if you make it through Merab, then you get a shot at and when Aljo's ready to hang it up and move on, Merab will step in there and get the belt. That would be pretty sweet.
Awesome.
All right, Matt. I appreciate you joining us, my friend. Best of luck, and I hope that we get to see that fight with Patty here soon.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. August in London, co-main event. I think it's the fight to make. It makes sense, and it's going to be a banger, and I'm going to, derail another hype train. And then if you guys are out in Jacksonville, I'll see you out there, and we'll watch Aljo shock the world.
Awesome,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
All right, later.
Bye. The cat made appearance. What's your cat's name?
Daisy. She's a little upset with me tonight. I did go off-brand wet food.
Oh no.
So she's meowing at me for her on-brand, but unfortunately the store was all sold out. So
yeah, cat food is like
little
crazy
cranky
hard to find right now. It's insane.
Oh, is that just a thing?
It's a thing.
And we don't need to dive too much into it, but
there was a whole TikTok about it too. Because I noticed it too. Sorry. This is all cat. Like we'll call this the cat podcast, the cat hour. Stay long enough, we'll talk.
Yeah, what a show though. Kay,
yeah, Hansen, a lot in there.
Fervola, draft. We all faith just a little over 70 minutes. I had to do mental math to figure out how many minutes and how many 10 minutes. Another question from Serial Chiller, who's been with us the whole show. Shout out to him. Do you guys think UFC wants Volkanovski or Zombie to win? Or her. You're right. You're right. Either or they.
Yes, they. It's true.
If you guys think the UFC wants just really quick, it's just like this is kind of a question that gets brought up. I guess the UFC want results in some fights, but I don't think they have it in. Amy, you think that UFC wants certain results in some fights?
I think that Dana White does, absolutely.
Yeah,
Dana White has favorites. I don't necessarily think there's one for that fight, to be honest. I think for example, Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes. I think for sure, Dana White wanted Amanda Nunes to win. There's just times where there's he's got favorites. I don't think he cares who wins this fight. I think he just wants a great fight.
Yeah, because to me, if Zombie is to win, you just set up a rematch and, Volkanovski probably takes the belt back, right? Like, to me, Volkanovski's he's quickly becoming this, kind of untouchable. I guess Max Holloway could keep up with him, but he's quickly becoming just, undisputed, can't be touched champion. To me, Amy, you're bringing up, I feel like Dana White wanted Cyril Gane to beat Francis Ngannou.
Yes.
So, he doesn't
that's for sure.
Yeah. I feel like there's certain times where you can kind of predict what's the next fight going to be. So if I were to just project, I feel like Dana White would probably want Sterling to beat Jan, because then Jan gets another, then you keep that going, you build that up. Whereas Volkanovski wins, you book Holloway again, Zombie wins, Volkanovski just gets it back in 6 months and so on.
Now, I think if we were asking Volkanovski and Holloway, I think that they would say Holloway.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And it's not to say that they would dislike any of the fighters. I mean, sometimes it is. But I think it's more just from a marketing standpoint, or you said, who's going to fight next? They do have ooh, let's hope this happens. But I don't think they're ever really rooting for anyone.
I will say, obviously, the big advantage if Korean Zombie were to win, I don't know if they're thinking about this, is it kind of helps them tap into the Korean market as well, and maybe help inspire some Korean fighters, which we've seen from other countries in the past. You need one champion, then all of a sudden, within a couple of years, that country becomes, a big MMA, a big UFC country. So Melissa Delgadillo, Melissa hasn't corrected me pronouncing her last name yet, so I'm assuming I'm pronouncing it right, or at least I hope so. She says, I think Volkanovski because they think he is more bankable, but I love Zombie. I love Zombie too. I do not love Korean Zombie. I think I brought this up last week's episode. One of the only fighters to pull off a twister, my favorite submission.
Yep.
In the UFC. Let's kind of end on this, because this is actually not a fight that we talked about in the draft. Is Zombie a live underdog? We talked about Gilbert Burns being a little bit underrated. We talked about Alderman Sterling potentially being underrated. Is Korean Zombie being underrated? And Serial Chiller says, I think Zombie is a very live underdog. So Alexander Volkanovski, I mean, this is the biggest favorite of the card. Minus 775 favorite, which means you would need to bet $775 on Volkanovski to win a profit of $100. Korean Zombie, aka of course his actual name Chan Sung Jung, plus 515, which means a $100 bet would give you a $515 profit. Korean Zombie underrated or Volkanovski set at the right price?
I think it's a little steep, if that's the right word. It's the margin's a little too wide. I don't know. I don't know the betting lingo.
Good verb there. Adjective there. That was a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Why? Okay.
Why is good? Yeah, line is a little wide towards Zombie.
Yeah. I think I definitely think should be an underdog, but not quite that drastic.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who just beat Danny Ige. He did lose to Brian Ortega before that, but then TKO victories against both Frankie Edgar and Renato Moicano. And don't forget, he was beating Yair Rodriguez in a 5-round fight, literally until the last second. He lost with 1 second left.
Yep.
He got knocked out by Yair Rodriguez in what was a crazy fight. But he was easily going to win on the scorecards there. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So, I mean, he lasts 1 more second in that fight. He's 4-1 in his last. He's actually be 6-1 in his last 7.
Yeah,
5-1 in his last 6. Sorry, mental math. Read thoughts.
I think Volkanovski wins this one pretty easily, but like again, I'm not rushing away. What is it? -760,
-775.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
Right
like
now?
you should never like.
No, you can't.
Yes, Korean Zombie can win. I mean, the guy has crazy finishing upside, and also 2 straight 5-round fights. Maybe he has that cardio now to really kind of gear up and handle Volkanovski's gas tank. But you know, I like Gilbert Burns. I might bet on. I don't think I'm going to bet on Korean Zombie though.
No.
And one last comment from Serial Chiller. He was a military soldier. His mentality is tough, of course. I mean, he lost that title fight against Jose Aldo way back in 2013, and then didn't fight again until 2017 because he had to do the mandatory military that Korean athletes have to do. So that's it. Usually we talk parlay, but we've kind of gone over now. We're already at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Unless you two have a parlay that you're just dying to give out, I think we're good to wrap it up.
Yeah, no, and if there's anything over on BetSided, I will have something up Friday. I'll have Best Bets card up on Friday, so make sure you check that out. But of course, thank you everyone for tuning in. 2 guests, first time ever, so that was awesome.
This is a historic episode.
Historic jab cross hook.
And the first time we've had a fighter who's fighting this weekend. So best of luck to Kay Hansen this weekend. If you're watching, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, like, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. I think we're good. Serial Chiller and Melissa both chimed in that they love the show. Thanks, great show. Glad that you two enjoyed it. We'll be doing this weekly forever for the next 80 years.
And
next week we're going to talk about Bellator too.
Yes,
So
all you
Bellator.
Sprinkle in a little, yes. Sprinkle in a little Bellator. Yes. But it actually is a very good Bellator card, so excited for that. So thank you all for watching. Until next week, take care. Best of luck with your bets this weekend if you do decide to bet, and enjoy the card because it's going to be a fun one. See you later.